Hello everybody, it's me, Farham. We're here with some Path of Exile 2, and today we are showing off a build one of my subscribers, Yoshi, has been playing for the whole season, and he wanted me to show this off because it's pretty ridiculous. I was kind of anti-playing this build. I know it's been knocking around, mostly because of the potential damage it could do to my graphics card, and yeah, this build definitely has some particle effects going on. Here's a quick demonstration now. I've got all of the graphics basically turned off and experimental features on to make sure that my card doesn't cook. And you can see everything just goes kind of pixelated and weird. We'll talk through the build, we'll talk through the gear, we'll talk through what it's not good for. It's just not good for your card. What it's good for everything else. It can even stack on like 600% rarity. We'll go through the gear, the passives. We'll give it a little showcase. It'll only be in a tier 4 breach because, again, not to keep banging that drum, but my poor graphics card. My poor graphics card. Let's jump into the passive tree. So as we go into the skill tree, a quick preface on what this build is. It's the auto bomber, right? So we're making frost walls. We're blowing up the frost walls using a bone cage. And then using these magical boots, we're dealing all the overkill damage. And we're just, from the overkill damage, we're dealing shitloads of damage to whatever sets off the bone cage from having around 24 frost walls at once, which is why there's particle problems. But the skill tree, we're playing this on the Invoker. We've got Sunder my enemies to ignore elemental resistance, although most of our damage is physical. We've got meta skills, gain 35% more energy. I am the Thunder and I am the Blizzard. Going through the skill tree, we are doing something rather different to what we've seen before. We go up through Flow Like Water, up through Crashing Wave, and then we come up to grab Style Bender, True Strike, and for the Jugular. We are running a number of Sapphire Jewels on the tree. The important stats here are the max energy shield, and that one's actually not got it. That's got mana on kill, which is helpful. We need a couple of mana on kills for farming maps. You want to get some Sapphires with energy shield and increased area of effect. That will help you clear, and it's a reasonably cheap way of getting some extra area of effect. It was. We're going to grab Staggering Palm for more physical damage, and more physical damage. We want to be stacking the physical damage of our bone cage. Coming down here, we've got damage versus full life. We're basically, this is for bosses. We blow up bosses in one hit. This stacks a lot of extra damage onto that boss hit. Coming up to grab Eternal Youth, that's for healing. Honestly, I haven't really had to use a healing flask since playing on this build. I think you could drop that, take something else. We're grabbing Dynamism for extra energy for our skills. This is all working off of cast on dodge, so the more energy we get, the better, the more frost walls we're casting. We hit our energy cap. We've got a Megalomaniac, it's giving us viciousness and goring. For more dexterity that we need, and more physical damage from goring. Again, stacking up that physical damage for those bone cages. Running Sea Ice, we can't grab Chaos Inoculation, but we're also grabbing Invocated Efficiency as well. For even more spell damage for our bone cage. Very important there. Grabbing Patient Barrier for some defense. Coming up and grabbing Volcanic Skin. We actually do need the fire resistance. And then we're coming down here and grabbing Illuminator's Crown and Heavy Buffer. We've got Explosive Impact for overkill damage as fire damage. Or, sorry, a 5% chance, dealing a 10th of maximum life as fire damage. And the extra area of effect as well. It's mostly for the area of effect that we've got that. 35% increased damage with hits against burning enemies. We do a lot of hits very, very quickly. The first one will make it burn, then we get 35% increased damage. Pathing up for this jewel slot here. Coming in and grabbing Calibration. Again, just need to get that energy shield to a comfortable number here. And then, again, more Sapphires. Looking energy shield. Area of effect. Those skills are what we're looking for there. Grabbing Throat Seeker. And then coming down and grabbing all of the crit nodes here. Heart Stopping, Struck Through, and Heart Breaking. Finally ending with another Sapphire. Now, definitely could get slightly better Sapphires than this. But this is perfectly fine. I'm sure you could min-max this build more, but when you're already killing bosses in a single frame, I'm not sure how much point there is. Let's take a look at the skill setup, and let's take a look at the gear. And I'm finally going to put my card through its paces. Skills then. I'll attempt to explain these interactions as best I can. It's just ridiculous. To take one word away from the interaction, it's just ridiculous. I can't see this staying into the 0.2 release. I would struggle to see if these interactions didn't get fixed or changed in some way. But effectively, what we're running are 2 cast on dodge. We run these at level 21, you get more energy, it's fine. You actually had 19 gems, so we didn't need level 21 gems to one-shot everything, so I'm upgrading them. We've got Frostwall. In fact, we've got 3 Frostwalls. We've got 1 Frostwall in our top cast on dodge, and then we've got 2 more. This means that when we bounce around, we cast lots of Frostwalls, right? There's loads of them. You can see them all exploding. It's fantastic. We've also got a Bone Cage. Now, Bone Cage is what blows up the Frostwalls. So what does Bone Cage do? It deals damage when something touches them, enemies. And it seems to be, it counts the Frostwalls as enemies. It counts enemies as well, and then it blows up all of the Frostwalls. When the Frostwalls, this is why we've got our Frostwalls all at level 9, so they've got low life, so they get big overkill from the Bone Cages, they explode, they deal damage anyway when they explode, and then they deal all of the overkill damage, and that scales up all our damage. We've got Concentrate Effect, Ambush, and Inspiration on first set of the first cast on dodge set, and we've got Spell Cascade, Spell Echo, and Fortress on the second cast on dodge set. This is just to pack in more ice walls into a smaller space. Next up, we've got Blink. This is a Temporalis build, so we're blinking around all the time. Dodging all the time, creating Frostwalls all the time. Blink and Temporalis is really, really important for this. On our Blink, we're running Ingenuity, Arcane Tempo, Unbreakable, and Energy Barrier. We've got Soul Offering and Skeleton Warrior. This is Skeletal Warrior. This is to give us 42% more spell damage. Honestly, I've been forgetting to press the button. It still works. But on Soul Offering, we have got Ablation, Dance Macabre, and Font of Rage. Again, just giving us that bit more damage. And on Skeletal Warrior, we've got Meat Shield, just so that they're around to be put on the spikes when we want to put them on the spikes. There you go. Next up, we've got 2 Support Auras. We're running Grim Feast for that extra healing. We're running Mana Remnants to get extra mana as well. That's particularly useful for mapping. You don't need it for bossing. That's the skills. So it really is built around these 3 top ones here. The Cast on Dodge, and the Blink. And it seems to work reasonably well. Let's take a little look at the gear and talk about where you need to spend the Divines to make them. You need a Temporalis, right? So it's a Temporalis base build. Let's jump into that, talk about how the gear interactions help push this up and get the damage out. Over to the gear. You can see on the left-hand side, we are basically running 0 defenses. We've got 354 spirit, but I believe the requirement to fit everything we are using here on this showcase is, quick maths, 338. Resistance cap, obviously important. You don't want to get one shot by stuff. 4,500 energy shield is going to be enough to stop you getting one shot by nearly everything, unless you forget to blink around the boss. If you forget to blink around a boss or something, then, you know, maybe scary times occur. But looking over at the gear, we've got a scepter. It's got to be a high spirit scepter, right? Other than that, the stats that you need is fine. Extra mana is going to be quite good there too. On your helmet, grab some rarity and any resistances you need. This build doesn't need much, so just stack in the rarity. Energy shield, rarity, resistances, stats. On your amulet, you want to get some spirit. You want to get some rarity. Maybe some resistances. On your rings, you want to get the resistances you need. That's quite important, but then get some rarity, because you don't really need anything else. On the other ring, maybe get a load of rarity. This is very much a magic find build. You can run about 600, 700% rarity, even more if you min-max these things, right? Your belt, Ingenuity is your best in slot, right? Just get an 80% Ingenuity. I don't even think they're expensive anymore. On the gloves, what you want to be looking for, it's a really important stat, but you want to be looking for rarity. Perhaps some resistances if you still need them. And perhaps even some extra energy shield. You want all your bases to be energy shield, by the way. Just pump up the energy shield. You want to be having your sapphires that are giving you extra energy shield. Half the trees dedicated to energy shield. This is how we're going to keep ourselves alive. On the boots, you want these little bad boys here, the trample toe. Now, these are quite important because it's the line here. It's the line, why won't you pin? I'm holding Alt, I promise. It's not doing it. It's moving like it's pinning, look, but then it's not pinning. It doesn't want to do it. Okay, well, the important line with that UI UX nightmare over, or just ignored, deal 30% of overkill damage to enemies within 2 meters of the enemy killed. This hits our frost walls when the bone cage explodes them, and then everything explodes. There's all those frost walls all getting blown up, and then all the overkill damage is being sent through trample toe, and that's basically how we one-shot bosses. It's very, very broken. It's very, very funny. And on the shield, we've got a machination, we've got a machination shield, 3 socket with rarity gems in it. So we've got lots and lots of rarity. In fact, let's take a look at what that rarity number is. If we jump up to one of our cast on dodge, click on one of these, we are currently sitting at 549% rarity. So that's rather juicy. But that's the gear. It's basically loads of rarity gear and temporalis. Oh yeah, I forgot to cover off probably the most important piece. It's got a temporalis in it, which means we can blink. We can just blink forever, right? We have no cooldown on our blink, which is nice. Temporalis is giving us resistances, but it's the skills have cooldown. I think you need at least minus 3.4 to get the unlimited blink, or this gives us like a 0.07 second cooldown on the blink, I believe. Yeah, 0.07 seconds. So you can actually blink slightly more if it's a slightly better temporalis. I think therefore you would need, for no cooldown on the blink, it's minus 3.5 there. That's the gear. So the temporalis is really expensive. I think those things are currently sitting at about 500 divines. Maybe more for a better rolled one. So it's definitely, if you want to give your graphics card a test, and you've got some divines to throw around at the end of the league, we'll jump into a quick breach and I'll show you why maybe you could have a giggle at this completely broken build. Into the Realm Gate we go, monster level 82. No cutting it short in this dojo. We're going for it. This is peak gameplay, guys. This is peak. So we're going to put up the little F1 screen, and you can see on the top right near the minimap, perhaps there'll be a dynamic zoom in on this, breaking the fourth wall there slightly. You can see my GPU is basically capped out. My CPU is capped out. I'm running a 3070 Ti. I've got an i9 with 16 gigs of RAM. 32 gigs of RAM, sorry. And my PC can basically just handle this. I've got every single graphics setting set to as low as it can go. I am running experimental features which remove additional particles, which is why you can't see all the walls. We can only see the explosion of the trample toes. Well, I think they're actually the frost wall explosions, but either way, everything is getting blown up reasonably quickly. We can just skip ahead into the darkness if we want. We don't need to wait for land, you know, catch up with us. We can set our own pace. But yep, I can't imagine playing with this build for a very long time myself, personally. I really can't. Not only does it hurt my eyes, because old man Farham strikes again, but it just, like, oh god, it's really fast though, and it clears really, really well. And it's really fast around maps, of course, because of the blink. It's got everything. It's got unlimited blink, and it blows everything up in one hit. But this is going to be the real showcase here. So I like to start my videos with the 1.5 seconds where the ice strike build's killing the boss. But I don't think I should start any video. So what we do is we just sort of, and he's gone. I don't think I should start the video with such heavy flashing lights, you know? But that's the boss. And that's how this thing clears a tier 4. It blows up a boss exactly the same way with 6 persons in the party. It does 260 million damage. It's completely broken. It takes a lot of investment, with the temporalis being needed. You can make them work without. Just dodge roll around, I guess. No, you need to be able to blink. Anyway, if you do decide to give this build a go, must warn you again, be careful. Your graphics card will get hot. If you've got a good graphics card that can handle it, then just laugh at me in the comments about my old 3070 Ti and that'll be fine. Hope you've enjoyed this showcase. It's nice to showcase some of the silly builds that have been going around on this league. Even if I wouldn't necessarily play them myself for any long period of time, they are definitely very funny. And yeah, I hope you've enjoyed this. I'll catch you in the next one. Have a good one.